There is a really cool scene. I don't know if you remember when he walks in the interview for the internship program he's applying for, and he's all covered in paint because he had an incident with his apartment the night before. So he was clearly not dressed appropriately. And looking at the interview, watching the interview, it was clear that he didn't have the qualifications necessary for that position. Right? But then he says something really nice in that scene that really, I think it defines very well also what we mean, or what I mean by resilience.
Can I say something? I'm the type of person, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you that I don't know. But I bet you what, I know how to find the answer, and I will find the answer.
Man, when I saw that for the first time, I was like, yes, that's it. That's it.
That scene, it was like less than 20 seconds. But if there weren't subtitles there, I think most learners would have a lot of difficulty understanding Will Smith because he uses so much connected speech there. So I wanted to challenge you guys to actually try to mimic these entire 15 seconds exactly like Will Smith says them, because it's just, even if you're not interested in sounding like a native speaker, it's going to help you a lot with your listening. So let's see, I have here the text. So he starts out by saying, can I say something?
Can I say something?
But he doesn't say, can I say something? Which is how most people learn how to say it in school, right? But he reduces can to kin. This is something that we natives do all the time, right? Kin. And it links to the I, and I links to say. So can I say something? Can I say something?
Can I say something?
Exactly. And then I'm the type of person. Here we have schwa. We've talked a lot about the schwa as well, that this is the most common sound at least in American English. And it's this We use it all the time. So in school, you probably learn to say the, but usually we'll reduce the to the. I'm the type of person. So we have another one there, the V gets dropped, and we also just pronounce it as a schwa, and that all links together. I'm the type of person.
I'm the type of person.
You got it. Going back to the scene, so Will Smith says, if you ask me a question. But there's, again, a lot of connected speech in this line. If you, so you, oftentimes we natives will reduce that to ya or ya, as he does here. So he says, if ya, ask me again, we have the schwa there, a. Instead of saying a, we'll often say and then question. If ya, ask me a question.
If you ask me a question.
You got it. And I don't know the answer. So again, this he reduced a lot. So and, oftentimes we'll say it that way, but oftentimes we just say an or un. So he says there an, and it links to the I, an I. And then don't. We have a T at the end there. Usually when we have this NT at the end of words, we'll pronounce that T as what's called a glottal T. It's a sound that's cut off at the back of we cut the T off at the back of our throat, right? So it's like a. And so instead of saying don't, which a lot of learners I hear say don't or can't or isn't, we don't say that strong T in American English. We'll say don't, can't, isn't, right? Mm-hmm. So he links all those three words together. And I don't, and I don't, and I don't. Again, we have a the here that's reduced to the, and that links to no. And I don't know the answer.
And I don't know the answer. The answer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, we have here, I'm going to tell you that I don't know.
I'm going to tell you that I don't know.
Which, of course, he doesn't say it like that. We have going to. Most learners know that becomes gonna, right? So, and he reduces it even more. Oftentimes, gonna will reduce to unna. So he says, instead of saying I'm going to, he says, I'm gonna. And also, like again there, the you reduces and links to tell. So it's tell you That I, we have an American T there. When we have a T in American English between two vowel sounds, so here between a and an I, it usually changes to a D sound. So instead of being that I, it's that I. Don't, again, with the glottal T there. No. I'm going to tell you that I don't know.
I'm going to tell you that I don't know.
You got it. Okay, and then, but I bet you what, he says. Which, by the way, what does it mean if I say I bet you what?
Like placing a bet, like, you are willing to bet your money, to put your money on the table and say, hey, I can do this. And if I can't, you can take my money away. Yeah.
Exactly. So he says, but I bet you what?
But I bet you what?
He says as but I, so we have an American T there. And then something really interesting that happens here is oftentimes when we have a T plus a Y in American English, we change it. It morphs into a ch sound. Same actually happens if you have a D plus a Y, it morphs into a j sound. So bet you becomes bet you. And you'll hear people say this a lot, like bet you or betcha, and what? Bet you what? Bet you what? So here he says, but I bet you what?
But I bet you what?
I know how to find the answer.
I know how to find the answer.
So here we have the tu reduces to a schwa sound, so it becomes ta. But then because it's a T between two vowel sounds, between the and the ow of how, it becomes howda, howda. I know how to find the answer. So the other thing that happens there is he drops the D on find. And this is probably because oftentimes when you have a D and a T following each other, you might drop one of them. So he says find the, actually I think here he emphasizes, so he says find the answer. I know how to find the answer.
I know how to find the answer.
And finally, this one has hardly any connected speech because he's being very emphatic. So when we want to be emphatic, oftentimes we'll deliberately not use connected speech, right? So he says, and I, so we do have connected speech there, which we saw before, and I, but then in every other word, he says pretty emphatically, and I will find the answer.
And I will find the answer.
Can I say something? I'm the type of person, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you that I don't know. But I bet you what? I know how to find the answer, and I will find the answer.
So again, I want to challenge you, dear listener, dear viewer, to watch the entire scene again and try to mimic Will Smith. Try to say it exactly as he did. So we gave you kind of the piece by piece there. If you're watching the video on YouTube, it'll help too because you'll be able to see there the connected speech. But doing that, I promise you, if you do that a few times and you're able to get it really down how he says it, it's going to help you so much to understand fast-speaking natives, right? That's one of the really beautiful things about being able to speak English is it allows you to open yourself up to all these different ways of seeing the world, all these different realities. This whole conversation about stepping outside of your comfort zone, it really reminds me of one of my favorite movies, which is called Into the Wild. So we prepared a clip from that as well. So the scene that I chose is from, he's, I believe, in Arizona, staying with this older man who's a widower, which means his wife died, and he lives alone. And so they kind of cultivate, got tongue tied there. They foster, there you could say, a relationship.
You're gonna live a long time, Ron. You should make a radical change in your lifestyle. I mean, the core of man's spirit comes from new experiences. And there you are, stubborn old man, sitting on your butt.
Sitting on my butt?
Yeah.
Ha! I'll show you! Sitting on my butt! Stubborn old man. I'll show you!
Come on, then. Come on.
That is such a beautiful scene.
Yeah, I highly recommend that if you haven't watched it yet to check it out, because the whole movie is just like so inspiring. But the reason I chose this scene in particular is because I love this quote that he says, the core of man's spirit comes from new experiences, which I think is really everything that we're talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone, and, you know, experiencing new things, meeting new people from other places and so on. Just like he does, he's just in the States, but he's still, the States, it's a big country, is able to meet all these really different people who teach him different things. So what does that mean, by the way, if you say that the core of something, the core of man's spirit?
Let's say maybe the main part of something. Yeah, the main part of something is the core, the fundamental thing, quality, or truth, let's say.
And he calls him a stubborn old man, I think, something like that, right? What does it mean if someone is stubborn?
If you are stubborn, you are stuck in your ways, and it's very hard to change your mind, to change your opinion, and that's actually, it's usually used in a negative way, yeah, this word, because, you know, it shows that you are inflexible. You are not open to other points of view, other types of opinion. You are stubborn.
We even have an expression we could use. If you're wanting to be even more emphatic, you can say someone is stubborn as a mule. A mule is an animal, like I think it's a cross between a horse and a donkey. And apparently these are very stubborn animals. If they don't want to move, for example, it's very difficult to get them to move, right? They're just stubborn. And then people who are watching on YouTube, they saw both of us were laughing when he says sitting on your butt. What does that mean if someone's sitting on their butt?
Literally, your butt is your behind, right? And sitting on your butt is like a lazy person. You're just sitting on your butt, like not doing anything, like sitting down and maybe watching TV all day long, yeah? Or not doing much with your life, just sitting on your butt. It's a fun expression.
And I really like, too, the way that he says this, because he's, as often happens, right, when we have these words ending in ing, we'll drop the G. So he just said sitting on, and he reduces, again, the your, like we saw before. We reduce you, we also reduce your. So he said sitting on your butt, sitting on your butt. And something here too that I thought I would quickly point out is a lot of learners, I think because, for example, in Spanish, you don't have a word that you'd use for that's different between butt and ass, for example. And so I hear some learners will use the word ass, but ass is actually a curse word in English, right? So, yeah, ass you can use if you're with, you know, people who you have a good relationship with and everything. But in other cases, butt is a softer word, we could say, right?
That reminds me of maybe a previous episode we did where you mentioned this, right, Ethan? Also those cultural insights, like, you know, for example, cursing too lightly, yeah? Like, you know, be careful with the word ass, yeah? Don't use it so lightly, yeah?
And just like in ending the scene, Ron says, I'll show you. What does that mean?
So when somebody challenges you or dares you to do something and you accept that challenge, you can say, oh yeah, you think I cannot do this? I'll show you. Watch me. So it's a great phrase to accept the challenge and do it. And watching the scene is really nice because the you know, Ron, he says, oh yeah, I'll show you. And then he does climb up the hill. Yeah.
Despite difficulty, right? It's actually, he's quite resilient. In that case, we could circle back.
There you go. Yeah. Beautiful.
The last thing I took note of is that Alexander says, you're going to live a long time. But he says this really quickly. People might have noticed this. He says, you're going to live a long time. So he reduces the your to your. And going to, of course, becomes gonna. The live and a becomes schwa, and they link together. So live a long time. You're gonna live a long time.
You're gonna live. You're gonna live a long time.
Nice.
Hey, so this is the end of this lesson. But if you enjoyed learning English vocabulary and pronunciation with it, you should know that this clip was just a part of an episode of the Real Life English podcast. And we release a new episode every week. So come check it out right now by clicking here on this video.